My name is Steve Richardson. You know, I have two little boys. I've been married, wow, let's see, 15 years now. I have a beautiful wife. Really, I have a blessed life. You know, for me, coming from my background of, I grew up here locally in town and country. I had no money, no resources. I come from a broken home. Both of my parents have been married and divorced several times. Finding stability when I was young was not part of who I was. I was in my low 20s, realizing that I was heading down a path that led nowhere. And as I got good friends around me and people that steered me in the right direction, I recommitted my life to Christ. And when I was in my mid-20s and met my wife, and she challenged me to be a man. She just challenged me, and she said, you know, you're that A personality. You lead in front of other men. You're aggressive, but you're not the spiritual leader. And in order to be married to me, you have to be a spiritual leader of our home. And from that comment on, it changed my world, because, you know, when you're a man and you're told you're not a leader, and whatever personality you are, it can affect you. And I realized that I needed to be something different. You know, some 10 years ago, I got into sports ministries, and how I got into it really was having accountability partners around in my life. You know, I was saved when, you know, about 15 years ago, got my life in order. And so about 10 years ago, some guys challenged me how I was going to use my faith to benefit others. And I had played flag football with some friends from high school, and we kind of got together, but it kind of dwindled off. The guys didn't want to come around much anymore on Saturday, so I thought, you know, I can make this into something. I can make a difference here. So long story short, I went out and kind of put out a general email and say, guys, hey, if you want to show up to a field, let's go play some football. And so I had the guys out there, and we had done that for a few months, and I thought, how can I turn this into ministry? It ultimately dawned on me that, you know, everybody's here at the beginning of the game. You know, 9 a.m. when the first snap happens, everybody's there. So I figured, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna give a message in front of all these guys. And I was so nervous about doing that. First time I really had shared publicly, and all the guys came for this first game at 9 o'clock, and they just thought we were gonna start playing. I said, no, let's all get around in a big circle. So I shared this simple message just about my testimony, my life, and what I found out afterwards is how many of the guys related to that. You know, the broken past, the broken family, living unsaved for a majority of my life, and then ultimately realizing who Christ was and living for Him and how different I was. And then we started doing this. We started doing it every other Saturday, playing out at a middle school here in Tampa. And I realized how it was impacting the guys, and really how it was impacting me. And I realized God had given me a calling, that sports ministries is a way for me to express myself, express my faith, and really have an impact on men. And so I thought of the CFL, and it was just a simple little acronym that I thought guys would relate to. And so I just called it the Christian Football League. And so I went to some friends of mine, got a facility here locally, and said, you know what, let's change this. Instead of just playing football and having a message afterwards, let's do something intentional. Let's get the coaches together, let's get them on board, and let me challenge them to deliver a message like I had been doing for the last 8 or 9 years, and see if they'll grow with me.
It's specially picked coaches with Steve and with Jay, and these coaches provide a lot of leadership. And the players buy into it, and I think the players, both the beliefs in Jesus and the sportsmanship and the team aspect, I think I see an impact as the season goes along.
You know, we had a devotion each week. Coaches helped give that devotion and connect with the players. At the end here, well, we had an invitation, and we had men come to Christ right here on the football field. And that's, in essence, that's exactly what we're here for.
We're out here for fun, we're out here to be competitive, but we're also out here to set examples, and, you know.
We put it together in a small 6-week series, and basically had man messages, you know, really the definition of being a man. In that first message, I told the guys that one day someone's going to ask you what it means to be a man, and you better be prepared. You're called as a man to know that answer. And obviously, it's all biblical based and God founded, but I wanted to challenge them in such a way that they'd want to learn. And I thought that was the easiest way to kind of get to their hearts, and sure enough it was. So we were able to use the CFL not only to foster men to understand who Christ is and understand what God called you as a biblical man, but we also learned that these coaches, when challenged properly, they became leaders themselves. And the impact of doing this league is actually going to, I think, roll over into other men's lives and ministries that they're part of, because now they've been challenged, like I was many years ago, to lead for Christ and not just sit back on the sidelines. You know, the first couple weeks went around, and I was, you know, I would deliver a message sort of later in the day after the coaches had delivered the first couple weeks, and I could tell the guys were nervous. Not only the coaches were, their first time to give messages, but I saw the guys trying to remember what it meant to be a man. You know, the first week was reject passivity. You know, what does that mean? And, you know, the next week, accept responsibility. You know, how does that impact you? And I could tell the guys wanted to know it for a couple reasons. I think some of them just new to church, new to the whole idea of men being able to express ourselves in faith through sports, and that it was okay. It was okay on a football field to talk about Christ, because these men aren't used to that. These kids, I mean, most of them were 18 to say 35. If they had any church background, it was limited. So, I stripped away all the worldly rules and regulations, just talked about, hey, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your relationship with me and how ultimately we can use that relationship to build on a relationship with Christ. And what I found with these guys is that through the weeks, they were sort of challenging themselves because they realized they wanted to be better men. I told them not to do it for me or the league, but do it for yourself. And through that, I learned that not only to challenge me to be a better communicator with them, but ultimately these guys every man wants to know why he was made, what his purpose is. And once you realize what the definition of being a man is, that accept responsibility, reject passivity, lead courageously, and by far the greatest of the four, expect a great reward. We're all men, we want great rewards. And playing a football game, we all want to win. So it was an easy tie together, and as we went through the weeks, it was interesting to see, them challenge themselves and what they were learning in the process.
Yeah, 4 principles. Basically, reject passivity, be courageous, expect a greater reward, and one more.
Well, it's about responsibility. Both on the football field and in the household. With leading as husband, and in your family, and ultimately each and every day trying to become more like Christ.
The main ones Steve had teach us is expect a great reward, live courageously. It's 2 more. I can't remember right now because it's so cold.
take leadership. Reject passivity. Lead courageously. Hey, they don't know what they talking about.
That's some of the stuff I've already thought of about being a man, rejecting passivity and accepting responsibility, stuff like that. But lead courageously has been one of the big things that's kind of stuck with me since last season. Pretty much, he's been saying it to us. So it's like something I've been really working on.
We noticed a different football game. They're still competitive, and there's conflict on the field, and they realized that it was actually more competitive. In retrospect, looking back, they thought it was a tougher challenge for them to win games, not because of different attitudes or because it was a different mission, but I think when you have guys that are focused, like any athlete, and they're focused on what they're doing, the game becomes more difficult, and you have to rise yourself to a higher level of competition. I told these guys from the beginning, if I could just get you to open your Bible for the first time in I don't know how many years, if I can just get you to go to church, wherever that may be, so that you can have some kind of relationship and make a difference in your life, if we could just do that, that's a success. My prayer is to use the CFL and the experience we had here in this first trial to take it to not only to other areas, but let other men have a chance to participate in it and see how it can change their lives. And I found that with the CFL and football, that the potential outreach for that adult male that's 18 and over, usually coming from a very rough background, it's a big draw.
It's my first year playing flags, and these guys are awesome. I watched a lot of flag football out in GT Bray and Bradenton. A lot of ruckus, a lot of fighting. These guys are great. They don't argue or nothing like that, and rough stuff, so it's great.
To me, I kind of just like the environment. I used to play football a while back, but always with the wrong crowd. So to me, it's kind of a different environment. I like the environment.
It's a great organization full of good guys to be around. I'm a young guy, I just turned 20, and I look up to every older guy out here. They taught us this season, the ways to be a better man and how to be a better man in life. Taught us a lot of things. Every game we had a devotion, and that meant something, just not playing football. It's more than football out here.
The potential new folks that can be introduced to not only Christ and the relationship with Him, but really a fellowship of believers. And I believe the CFL can do that. And my goal is to take it to other areas and ask them, can we use those facilities to host a CFL to see how we can impact others? Because as we saw here, we had people coming out, probably 70% of the men that were out there were unsaved. Most of them don't have a relationship with a church. They don't have a relationship with even really a Christian. So coming out and compete from an athletic standpoint, and not only playing the game, but hearing a message before that can challenge them as men, and then following up with it as the season goes, and challenging the coaches to be better men, not only the impact that we can have in their lives, but in their friends' lives. I can't tell you how many folks that have texted me or emailed me and said, hey, I heard this went well. A friend of mine knows a friend, can I bring a squad? Can I bring a team? I know some people that like to be involved. And that outreach alone and anything that I've done in the past has never been as impactful in such a short period of time. And there's a lot of facilities out there that we can reach a lot of men in doing this. So my hope and prayer is that God, if it's His will, that He can use this and that we could replicate it in other areas so people can be drawn to Christ through this ministry.